So you went to the dumps to get rid of junk you don't normally use, and of course you bring back junk you don't normally use. But today we're going to show you how to fix it up, and it's got flat tires on both ends, but it also has some rust and some other odds and ends, but it's got some nice parts like these Shimano derailleurs. And today we're going to start with fixing this thing up, starting with the front tire. So with this style of brake, you're going to squeeze them together, pull on the cable, and it just slides right out of there, releasing both levers. We're going to go ahead and loosen the axle nuts, which on this case was a 15 millimeter. We're going to get them both off along with these washers. And once you have both nuts and both washers off, you can go ahead and just lift the bicycle and the tire drops right out the bottom. Now the proper tool for this job, I call it a tire spoon, but in case you don't have one of those and you're working with really limited tools, you could use a very small box end wrench, as long as you use the smooth closed end side. So with the tire empty of all of its air, we're going to roll the tire back and just jam the box end side of the wrench into there, cantilever it over, and rotate the tire around until this whole bead is unseated. And once it is, you'll lift on one side and that'll pull the other bead off the wheel. And you're going to want to check this inner liner, this rubber piece here. It protects the tube from the spokes, and make sure the holes are lined up with where the Schrader valve goes through. If this piece is no good, electrical tape will work just fine. So here's our new tube. On the side of all bicycle tires, you'll see a series of numbers. You just line that up with the tube size, and you've got a match. Also make sure that your Schrader valve is the same as this. There's also a Presto or Presta, whatever it is. I don't believe in those. I like old stuff. Anyways, we're going to pull the old empty tube out. We're going to take our new tube, and then we're going to put some air into it. Not much. We're only going to put maybe 1 psi inside there, just enough for it to hold its shape, just so it's kind of soft and malleable. If the tire has any marking or logo on it, I always like to line it up with the fill valve. And then we're going to shove this new tube into place all the way around. And once the new tube is in there, just go ahead and take your Schrader valve cap, put it aside to make sure you don't lose it. Line it up with the hole in the wheel. And I always like to put my thumb on the back side so I can push the Schrader valve all the way through and in. Then I grab it with my other hand and start rolling the tire on. Pretty much the same process as getting the tire off. You start with one bead, get it all the way around, and then you'll start taking the tire and rolling it over towards itself to seat the other bead. Just like this. I always just like to pull towards myself, and you'll see the bead pop right into the wheel. And if the Schrader valve isn't straight up or down, you can go ahead and take the tire and wheel and move them independent of each other. Put a couple of pounds more of pressure inside there, and then we're checking this area of the tire here to make sure it's even all the way around the wheel. And if one area sticks out just a little bit in one small spot, you can just take your fist, pound it down, and that'll pretty much make it nice and straight. Rotate the tire and look down the edge right here. This one looks good, so time to move on to the bearings. So you're going to take 2 box end wrenches. In this case, it was 17 millimeter or 11/16. We're going to crack them both loose. Just to make sure you don't lose the ball bearings, I like to loosen one side while keeping pressure on this side of the axle. And then I use some Moly graphite grease on a paintbrush. And I brush them all in, making sure I keep the open side of the axle with the bearings upright so the balls don't fall out. Once that's all done, I'll go ahead and tighten this side. But I'm leaving this jam nut off. I'll rotate it over and make sure that that bottom bearing race is now pressed up against the bearings we just packed, and then I will loosen the other side just a little bit, then we can brush some more grease into the other bearing. Then for a final time, we will screw it back together. Making sure it rolls nice and smooth, let it spin around a little bit. Now at this point we got to put the jam nut back on, but we're going to need to get a really skinny wrench because there's 2 flat spots on this little piece right here. We're going to have to hold that one while tightening the outer. And the bearings only need to be tightened about finger tight. This jam nut will keep them from backing off. And just making sure that our resistance is nice, it spins nicely. We're going to go ahead and put the wheel back on, not forgetting our washers. And before we tighten this up, we're going to go ahead and make sure the tire is centered in the fork. Once we're sure it's centered, we can go ahead and crank down these nuts and make it nice and tight. And at this point, we can put our V-brakes back together, but in this case, this bicycle does have a bad front brake cable. So if the brake cable's good, we're good here. But we got to change out this cable, which is a very easy and fun process. We're going to go ahead and take our little adjuster here. We're going to line up all 3 of these slots. We're going to pull on the brake lever and then quickly pull back on the brake cable while releasing the lever. From there, we can slide the cable out of the slot, pull on the brake lever again, and then all we have to do is move the cable down and the whole thing pops out. And working our way down here to the V-brakes themselves, we're going to go ahead and take our 10mm wrench and loosen the cable clamp. From there, we're going to go ahead and pull on it. If there's a little narp at the end right here, just pull on the cable quickly and that'll get it right off. We have a new cable here that came in a set. You can find these sets where it comes with all 4 brake cables for about 15 bucks from your local Walmart. There's a little aluminum end on here that we're not going to use, so we're going to go ahead and pull the cable out and discard this little aluminum piece that you see. We're going to match it up to the length of the old one and then cut it to length. Now you can use a pair of side cutters here, but I always like to use a cutoff wheel. And in that package you'll see this little tin piece and it just goes over the end. We're going to make sure that the cable moves nice and smoothly through the housing. And then all this stuff's going to come off the old brake cable. Now with that, we're just going to pull this rubber boot off. And then we're going to go ahead and just take this little piece of metal, hold it tightly while pulling the cable out. Now sometimes this little nylon insert will come out. That's a good time to put a couple drops of oil inside there and slide it back in. We can then feed in our brake cable right on through there. We're going to slide the cable all the way through until the ends are mated together, nice and smooth like this. Making sure the cable moves nice and smoothly through that piece, and then we're going to put the cable back in. We're going to go ahead and just do the reverse of the disassembly by putting it through there, and then through all 3 of these slotted pieces. I then like to rotate these 2 pieces just so the cable doesn't come out so easily during reassembly. So first off, you put the cable through the little hole in the clamp, and of course you forget to put that rubber boot back on, but that's okay. So we're going to put this through there. I like to squeeze them tight and then just finger tight the clamp until we have just a little bit of side-to-side movement. Any kind of slop can be adjusted out of the brake handle. And from there, the brakes are okay, but they're dragging on one side. You'll see the right side lever moving, but the left side not. And on these kind of brakes, there's an adjuster on each side, just a little Phillips screw usually. Being that the left side was not moving, we're going to go ahead and tighten that spring just a little bit. It only takes about a turn or 2 at a time. And with that, they're both starting to move. I got to readjust until they both start moving nice and evenly. That way one side of the pad is not touching the wheel. And with that, they're both contacting the wheel and releasing. Now the brake pads aren't very well lined up. They're a little bit low on the wheel, so I'm going to go ahead and just loosen this. And there's like a little ball socket kind of thing in here, so you just move it by hand till it mates nice and flat up against the wheel, give it a tighten, and if need be, readjust the spring on the brake on each side, just making sure that it stays away from the tire. And with that, I'm going to take the little cable end cap, crimp it on, and I always like to leave the cable pretty long and just tuck it out of the way. And this isn't needed so often, but now it's time to go for the headset bearings. With that, we're just going to take a big wrench, loosen that top nut. This washer here has a keyway. Sometimes they're a little bit difficult to get off, but a pair of screwdrivers will pop it right off. From there, we're going to loosen this upper bearing race, and it doesn't need to be completely off. Just about a 1/2 inch of clearance will be just fine. With that, we can lift the frame and get to the lower bearing, brush some grease inside there. And once we've done that, we could brush some grease on the upper bearing. And then we tighten this race. And before the lock washer and top nut go on, I like to check it for slop. If it's a little bit too loose, you'll see a little bit of movement just like this. So go ahead and just tighten that upper race more. And then we can go ahead and line up our little keeper washer here. And then tighten up that top nut. And it doesn't need to be super tight. Maybe 10 foot-pounds is all it needs. Now with that, we're making sure the steering moves nice and fluid and there's no slop, and it looks great. And with the steering all done, we're going to go ahead and move on to the derailleur. This one here works actually pretty good, not great. It has a little bit of a trouble getting into its lowest gear. Takes a small bit of time, a little bit longer than it should. So with that, we're going to adjust the end points and the slop in the cables. It was really close to getting into low gear just fine. With that, just needs a little adjustment by taking this inner screw and going counterclockwise. That allows the derailleur to go closer to the seat post. And it does not like going into the highest gear. As you'll see right here, it is in 3rd gear, but it just won't climb that. So we're going to go ahead and take our end point on the high side and take it out a couple of turns, adjust the cable slop, and with that you can see it crawl right onto that gear just fine. Make sure you don't set the end points too high, otherwise the derailleur itself will rub on the chain as you pedal. So it's a little bit of a balancing act to adjust these screws to the point where the chain can go all the way over and go into the highest gear or lowest gear without rubbing while it's in those gears. And here's where the screw adjusters are for the end points on the derailleur. You'll see low and high, and that little cam piece to make it stop on either position. And the derailleur in the rear has minimal slop, so we're going to go ahead and adjust it out at the handle right here, just giving it a turn or two. Once that slop is adjusted out, we can go ahead and run it through the gears. And this one got jammed. You'll see here that the chain got stuck between the sprocket and the frame itself. And that's because one of the endpoints was set too far, so we're going to go ahead and take the endpoint that is correlating to the smallest sprocket and give it a screw inboard. And after being adjusted, I'm going to go ahead and try to drop it back into 7th gear. And it won't go, so I adjusted it too much. We're going to go ahead and back off this adjuster a little bit. You'll see here it just won't go into it as before it went too far. So we're going to go ahead and back off this adjuster again. And then from there it pops right into gear just like it should. And the derailleur does not rub. And most derailleurs have a little adjuster back here for the cable tension. From there, we're going to go ahead and just click it one click at a time to make sure that the gear goes up one at a time. And you can adjust the cables on either end accordingly. And once you have your cable tension and the derailleur endpoints set, you can just run it through all the gears. And we're going to go ahead and disconnect the rear brakes to fix the back tire, making sure that the chain is on the smallest sprocket, front and rear. And we're going to go ahead and loosen up our axle nuts. You can do this with the bicycle upside down or having someone hold it up. We're going to drop the tire out and just slowly guide it through the chain and derailleur, making sure not to pull on the chain like that. And once we're unhooked, it's exactly the same principle as the front. We're going to go ahead and slam a new tube to it. And once the new tube is inserted and you're ready to put the tire on, just go ahead and guide it back through the chain. Put the chain on the smallest sprocket back here, and then just feed it back up into the frame and tighten up your axle nuts, making sure that the wheel is centered. And to make it pretty easy, I just like to put my hand through the frame and kind of squeeze or push if I need to make the tire go left or right. And the tire looks good in center, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten up those axle nuts and hook up our brakes again. And this brake is quite maladjusted on its spring tension, keeping the pads off the wheel. As you can see, it stopped the tire pretty much in its tracks and only one lever is moving. This lever right here is moving a whole bunch, the other one's not. We need this lever to kind of pull back the other way, so we're going to go ahead and tighten the spring adjuster on this side and loosen the other side a little bit if needed. And they're pretty well adjusted, but you can see that the tire is slowing down faster than it should, so just a little bit more, and from there, it should just spin like clockwork. And really the last thing to do is take some WD-40 or PB Blaster or even automatic transmission fluid and just put a couple of drops on all the moving parts, put some on the chain, and this thing's ready to rock. And there you have it. It was a free bicycle from the dumps, about $10 to $15 for the tubes, in just a couple hours time on a nice Saturday morning, and this thing's ready to live a new life and carry on a lot more miles. Anyways, guys, I really hope this video was helpful. I see a lot of people taking bicycles into bicycle shops, and it's just so simple to give these things a little tune-up. Now, this may not be the right way per the book, but it's the way I've always done it for years, and it's worked out quite well. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.